we have one of our founders here today. Jimmy, where are you? Where's Jimmy? Where's Jimmy Adams? Here he is. And I know we have a lot of first-time visitors. Would you raise your hand, please? Wow, awesome. Thank you. So since we have so many first-timers, I wanted to share our mission statement. So why are we even meeting here? Why do we do this? And our mission statement is the Christian Business Luncheon was founded in 2005 to bring business people together to glorify God and provide fellowship. So that's why we do this every month. And we have some just great people speaking, and we hope that you'll come back, all you first-time visitors. So do we have, I guess Kent Klingerman's here. Where's Kent? Yeah, thank you. Precinct 3 here. I don't know. So how about veterans? Any veterans, please stand, if you would. Thank you. Thank you. That's what it's all about, right there. And then Martha's Mexican Restaurant, they're outside the hallway, but we thank them for feeding us. I hope the food was pretty good today. It usually is. And of course, our great videographer, Janetta, back there, does a great job videoing everything for us. So our luncheons are the second Tuesday of every month. We meet here in this room. And if you, I guess there's one month a year we might not meet here. If the college is on break, then we meet the week before. We always meet here, but it'll be the week before, so it wouldn't be the second Tuesday. And as Brian said, if you're interested in sponsoring, you can talk to one of the board members. So will the CBL board members please stand so people can know who you are? So, thank you. And then also, we do not charge for lunches, but there are bowls on the table. There are QR codes there or PayPal if you are led to donate for your luncheon. We would appreciate that. Our lunches cost us $15 here. Okay, so last thing before we introduce our speaker, which is why we're here. Next month, Leanne Nutt, the president of Lone Star College Tomball, will be speaking, and she'll be talking about a fabulous new program that she's developed for students. It's really awesome. And then in October, we're going to have our first missions spotlight. And that will be Families Feeding Families. That's who we will spotlight in October. November, Alexander Mailer will be here. And in December, the Concordian Lutheran High School Choir that wins awards all over the country. They're phenomenal. They sing every year here, and that'll be our program in December. So now, the reason we're all here, right? I've been wanting to do this for a long time, a long time. I've got 3, there's a lot of successful coaches and great coaches, but I've got 3 that I admire above all the others for excellence, both on the field and off. First is R.C. Slocum, and I've known him for years. I've played golf with him. He's an awesome guy as well as a phenomenal coach. Any Aggies in here? Any whoops? Come on. And then Nick Saban. I don't know Nick, but when he joined Alabama, I became a big Bama fan. I was a huge fan. Now that he's gone, I'm not so much anymore, but I respect him for who he is. And the other guy is Gary Kubiak. I mean, his on the field, he's awesome. As a coach, he was awesome. And as a person, he's awesome. The things he does and what he stands for. And so I'm really happy to introduce him. He doesn't need much of an introduction. He was All-State, All-America quarterback at St. Pius High School here in Houston. Quarterback for our Texas A&M Aggies. Yeah. Quarterback for the Denver Broncos from 83 to 91. And of course, he was our Texans coach from 2006 to 2013. He's won 4 Super Bowl rings, which is phenomenal. 3 with San Francisco and 1 with Denver. And 3 of his sons are active in the NFL right now. Clint is with the Seattle Seahawks, Clay's with the San Francisco 49ers, Klein with the Dallas Cowboys. We won't hold that against you. Gary and his wife Rhonda have 6 grandchildren and attend St. Mary's in Plantersville, and it's my great pleasure to give you Gary Kubiak.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, everybody hear me? So I got these great notes. I'm going to put them right here, and I'm going to walk out here and talk to everybody. Well, first off, I've been very fortunate to be all over the country because of football. You know, because I was a coach. The biggest stages you could ever be on with the media and all those type of things. And yet my life has been back home. Tomball, that's so that's something I really, really appreciate. Can y'all hear me without this? Can you? Okay. There you go. Boom. There you go. Now I can use my notes. No, but anyway, it's great to be here. You know, thanks for the introduction. I really, really appreciate that. You know, nowadays I'm retired, and I live on my farm about 20 miles from here in the great town of Plantersville, Texas. My farm surrounds St. Mary's Church, so they got me protected over there. But you know, it's always nice to get out because my life nowadays kind of revolves around feeding a few cows, doing some things around the house, which sometimes Rhonda is not very excited about some of my domestic work, you know. It doesn't go over very good. So some of the results I get from her, I'm going to go home today and tell her, hell, when they introduce me, I can tell you I'm really a pretty good guy. You know, you just kind of forgot about it. So it's nice to know that. I'm going to tell you guys a quick story. When I became the head coach of Houston Texans in 2006, when Bob McNair brought me to Houston, that was probably my proudest moment in my career. And I had been the head coach for probably about 2 or 3 months. I'm trying to get the team going, trying to figure things out. And Mr. McNair, bless his soul, great man, came to me and he said, Gary, he said, I want you to speak at a function for me. And I said, sure, Bob, you know, whatever you want. So I agreed to do it. And I found out a couple of months later, it was a religious conference in Houston, very, very big conference that goes on once a year. When I found that out, I got very nervous. I got out of my element, so to speak. But anyway, I agreed to do it. So as I approached that day, I thought to myself, you know, before I start speaking, I better come up with a joke or something to set myself at ease, you know, because this is going to be a very difficult thing for me. I'm used to, as a coach, talking to a lot of guys in a room about football, but to go in that situation, that was something that I had not done much of. So anyway, I decided to start off with a joke. So there was probably 1,500 people at this thing. Mr. McNair was sitting right beside me. I was introduced. I got up. I started to speak. I thanked them for having me. And then I told the thing that came out of my mouth, I'll never forget this. I said, I know y'all think y'all all know a lot about me because I just got here and I'm going to be coaching this football team, but there's something that y'all need to know, something y'all don't know about me. And I said, as a young man, I want y'all to know it wasn't easy. I told them I had a drug problem as a young man. Mr. McNair turned white as a ghost, okay? And he about fell out of his chair. And I told them my problem as a kid was that my parents drugged me to church every Sunday. That was my problem. So Bob became at ease at that time and regrouped, and I moved on with my talk. But I'll never forget that time. Now, Bob got me back 8 years later when he let me go. But that's okay. That's part of it. But you know, when I get asked to go, when I get asked to speak, I think the first thing when you get asked to speak is who am I talking to? What's my audience? You know, what's the group? There's a lot of questions you ask. And when I was asked to do this, naturally I said, sure, I'd love to. You know, I'm right down the road. I'm here pretty much year round. And I'd love to go out and share some stories with you. So I got called about 3 weeks before this thing actually came together. And I was asked, Coach, are you ready to go? I said, yeah, I'm ready to go. He said, what's your message, Coach? Is there a certain message that you want to convey, that you want us to advertise or whatever? I said, no, not really. I don't know. We'll see. I said, Coach, is there a certain Bible passage that you would like to be associated with, your favorite Bible passage that we can maybe make part of the flyer before you come there? And my answer was, no, not really. I'll see. To make a long story short, let me just say this. For all the years that I coached football, and I was a teacher, and that I get asked to do things like this, forever, I've always spoke from my heart, okay? And when I went in to talk to my team, and that day, or I talked to the media on a regular basis, I never went in there with a set of notes. Yeah, obviously, I knew what was going on. I may have thought about some things, but I always felt like I did my best work if I spoke from my heart and I told the truth. So that's kind of what I'm going to do with you guys today. I'm going to talk about a couple of stories that are very important in my life. I think there's actually 3. We may get to the third one, but we'll get through 2 of them. But I want y'all to kind of know a little bit about me as a person and what I felt like was extremely important to me as I went through this career and got to the point where I am now, okay? And I'm going to go back to 2013, December of 2013, okay? December of 2013 was, I don't know the exact date, but that was the time of year when I got called in and I was told that I was no longer going to be the head coach of the Houston Texans. And I remember that day like it was yesterday. It was obviously very, very difficult. It was disappointing. I understood. I was in a business where that happens. But as y'all can well understand, me being from the Heights in Houston, being from a Houston kid, everything I'd kind of worked for so many years, I kind of hoped someday that I would get an opportunity that I was getting in Houston with the Texans, to take a startup franchise and be a part of them, figuring out how to win and how to be successful. So that was something I'd worked for all my life. And I'd been there 8 years, and we had done some good things. And obviously, things were not going good that season, which I totally understand. And to be told for the first time in my life as a player or as a coach, no thank you, we're going to go to somebody else. So I was extremely, extremely disappointed. I was somewhat probably a little bit embarrassed, because I grew up here, and I felt like I had failed a little bit. So I had to go through some stuff, and I had to dig deep as a person and figure out, what's next for me in my life. So let me take you through, okay, what happened. Let me take you through the first 2 weeks after that happened. There were 2 weeks left in this season. So I was going to have to stick around Houston, and I was going to have to watch the team play that I had coached for 8 years and listen to things and still be around an atmosphere that I had been around 24/7 for the last 8 years, okay? So let me tell you what I did. I got in my car. I drove out to my farm in Plantersville. At the time, I had no residents out there, okay? Just a bunch of land out there and a few fishing ponds and a few cows. And I drove out there, and I just needed to get away. Fortunately, my in-laws lived about a mile away. So my mother-in-law and father-in-law had a beautiful home about a mile away from my farm, so it gave me a place to stay. Well, I was soul searching, okay? What's next for me in my life? Where am I going to go? I was getting a lot of advice. Hey, Coop, you've been through a lot. You fell out on the field, all those things, okay? You have a year left on your contract, maybe just take it easy. Take a break, okay? Get away, take a break, okay? You deserve it, You're getting people that care about you telling you all these great things, So I'm sitting out there, and I'm trying to figure it out. And the first thing that came to mind was I said, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I kind of need to flush what I've been doing. So how was I going to do that? Well, I had a storage barn out there on my farm where Ron and I had kept many things, because you move a little bit in the coaching world. And I said, honey, I got so many playbooks and speeches and books in my, I'm going to kind of get rid of them, and I don't know what's next, but I'm going to start anew. So I went through all these things that mattered to me a great deal, and I bagged them up. And y'all know out in the country, nobody picks up the trash, so you either go burn it or take it to the dump, whatever you got to do. But I'll never forget, I bagged up 3 big bags of trash, and they were playbooks and various things that meant a lot to me. But I was going to wash them, I was going to get rid of them. So anyway, I went over to my mother-in-law. She had a big barrel. It was wintertime, Texas winter. I said, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to burn these 3 bags. So I threw in bag 1, and I burned it. And I sat out there in a little chair and just kind of hung out and thinking about a lot of things, probably feeling sorry for myself a little bit, I burned trash bag number 2, sitting out there. That all went good. I threw trash bag number 3 in the barrel, and what I did not know was that one of my brother-in-laws, in that particular bag of trash had thrown an aerosol can, all right? So as bag number 3 was starting to burn, and I was sitting not far from it, enjoying the heat in the Texas winter, it blew up. It blew up, knocked me out of the chair, burned a bunch of my hair, my eyebrows, you name it, my face. I was fine. I ended up on the ground. So I make my way back to my mother-in-law's house, probably a 300-400 yard walk, and I walk in, and my wife and my mother-in-law are in there, and the first thing that came out of their mouths was, "What in the hell happened to you?" So I proceeded to tell him my story. But anyway, I'm sitting there going, oh my God, I just lost the most important job in my life, I'm trying to figure out what's next. I about blew myself up, Where's this heading? What's going on? Good Lord, what do you want from me? So I promised my wife, Rhonda, I said, Hannah, I won't do anything quick. I'm going to listen. She said, don't take a job right now. Just let's figure this out. And after that second week, the season ended. And in the NFL, it's customary. The minute that last game's over, it probably doesn't take 2 hours for people to start calling coaches and stuff. And we're interested in you. Would you like to work for us? So that Sunday afternoon, about 6 o'clock, when the NFL season ended, my phone started ringing. Kub, would you come here? What are you going to do? Would you do this? And I played everybody off. I just said, I need my space. I'm good. I got a phone call from John Harbaugh, the head coach of the Baltimore Ravens. Ozzie Newsome, the greatest general manager the NFL's ever seen. Some of y'all may not know him. I'm telling you, the best, all right? They called me. I started to give them my spill, basically leave me alone. And I'll never forget, John said, well, we haven't offered you a job. He goes, we just want you to come out here and come see us. So I agreed to get on a plane, go out to Baltimore, and spend a couple of days with Ozzie and John. So I took off. Rhonda said, whatever you do, don't take another job, You call me. I went to Baltimore. I spent 2 days with 2 wonderful Christian men, good people. They've been doing it a long, long time. They cared about me as a person, I spent this time with them. I had dinner with them on the second day. I snuck away that evening to call Rhonda and basically say, hey, I'll be home. I'll be home tomorrow. And oh, by the way, I just took a job. And, she was livid. She says, why'd you do that? I said, I have no idea. But something's pulling me in that direction. Something's telling me that it's time to move on. It's time to get back on the horse, so to speak, and go do what I do. And for some reason, I ended up with these 2 men the last few days. So it was a very moving time for me. Well, let me tell you what happened to me the next 2 years of my life. So coming off of one of the biggest disappointments in my career, here's what happened the next 2 years. So I'm with Baltimore. We win, I think, 11 games that year. We go 2 deep into playoffs. We get beat by Belichick and the Patriots in a great game. And a great year, wonderful year. So I went from disappointment to, dang, this is really fun again. This is where I was meant to be. Got through with the season in Baltimore. I was really looking forward to coming back. Kind of found my place. Rhonda loved it there. The day after the season, we checked out our players, and I went home, picked up Rhonda, we went out to dinner. We're sitting at a dinner table, and nowadays you put your phone on the table and it starts to buzz. And I look, and she looks, and it's my son, Klein, my youngest son, Klein. I pick up the phone. Hey, bud, how you doing? Hey, Koob, this isn't Klein. This is John Elway. I'm like, oh, smokes. I thought this was my son. How would you like to come to Denver? How would you like to become the head coach of Denver Broncos? So crazy things were happening in my life. Y'all know the story. I end up going to Denver the next year. I'm part of 15 wins, 3 playoff wins, and I'm a Super Bowl winning head coach. So going from the biggest disappointment to 2 of the greatest years of my life as a football coach. So God is good. Okay, God is good. And my message to all of you is that there's nothing easy, right? I mean, it doesn't matter what you do, whether you're a football coach, you're running a business, you're running a school, it doesn't matter. Being a husband, okay, being a father, I mean, there's nothing easy. But what we are responsible for is just giving our best effort. Sometimes listening when we don't want to listen. Sometimes taking chances that we maybe wouldn't take, and we don't know why we're taking them, but we're being pushed to go do that. So I was rewarded in a way that was absolutely incredible, okay? And my career, football-wise and stuff, been absolutely amazing. I was a part of so many things. I get introduced as a 4-time Super Bowl champion. But I can tell you, just being a part of teams, being a teacher, being a part of kids' lives, being a part of coaches' lives, mean more to me than any ring I could ever come up here and wear today. They're in a bank somewhere in Houston, okay? But it's about who you are as a person and your experiences in life. Story number 2, okay? I'm going to take you back to when I was a kid. I'm going to tell you how I learned some things that were extremely important to me, okay? So I went to St. Pius High School, right down there off of North Shepherd in Houston, still there, okay? I came out of St. Pius, and I was what do they call these kids nowadays, like 5 stars or 6 stars? I think back in my day they called you a blue chip player or something. So I was a good player, okay? I was a good athlete, good football player. I signed with Texas A&M, and I was going there to start my football career, and I had great aspirations of what I wanted to do. Ladies and gentlemen, I was raised right, okay? I grew up North Houston. My dad was a carpenter. My mom was a housewife. They didn't have much, but everything they had, they put toward putting me and my sisters in the best possible school so that our religion was part of our daily lives, doing everything they could for us kids. And that's what I remember. I also remember that I better be a good kid. I better be respectful to my mom, respectful to my sisters, handle my business faith-wise. I mean, my dad, I can't tell you how many times my dad woke me up at 4:30 in the morning because I had to be an altar boy at church at 5 o'clock Mass on Sunday, okay? So I was raised the right way, had the right values in life, okay? And it was time for me to go chase my dreams, so to speak. So I go off to A&M. I get there, we're practicing training camp, school hasn't started, we're working for like a month, and all I cared about, I can tell you, when I got to Texas A&M was football. That was the most important thing to me. I didn't think about some of the values my parents had instilled in me. I didn't think about what was going on with my family back home. I started to lose sight of some of the things that made me a good person on a regular basis because all I cared about was it was time for me to become a college football player, okay? Well, my freshman year, the first month, things went really good. I was climbing a ladder. We go to the first game. We play Brigham Young University. I actually played some in the game, We lost a game. After the game, the next week, Texas A&M decides that this 18-year-old kid, is going to be the starting quarterback at Texas A&M in week 2. We're going to Penn State to play the number 1 team in the country, and I'm the starting quarterback. So my career is taken off, very young. I got there, we go to Penn State, I play about 10 plays, I get hurt, my elbow's bending the wrong way, I'm done for the season, okay? So everything I had built up, everything I had pushed toward what I saw coming in my life and where I was heading, kind of blown up in my face a little bit. So what am I going to do now? Well, instead of going back to my roots and doing the right thing and getting myself back focused, I pushed even harder. I went into year 2. Now it's going to happen. Now things are going to be great. Before the season in year 2 at Texas A&M, the coaching staff decides that I'm going to be redshirted. And for some of y'all that don't know what that means, back in the day, that's when you were part of the team, but you basically didn't play, and it didn't count against your eligibility. So I was not going to play as a sophomore at A&M. I was going to suit up, be a part of the team, but I was going to have 3 years of eligibility left after this senior playing ahead of me was going to leave. So they convinced me that was the right thing to do, so everything's still on course. Everything's going good. Well, about 5 or 6 weeks into my sophomore season at Texas A&M, we are playing the University of Houston in the Astrodome. This is a historic football game. So when y'all leave here today, you can go look this up. This is a true story. The game started at like 1:30 in the morning. Well, how in the heck did that happen, Coop? Let me tell you how it happened. We were sitting in a hotel across the street. The Cougars were sitting in a hotel. The Astros were in a playoff game. So after their playoff game, they were going to flip the field and we were going to start the football game. Well, the game went 22 innings, okay? So we had to wait till like midnight. They flipped the field and the game started at 1:30 in the morning. So it's a historic football game. But anyway, it's a typical Saturday for me, or Saturday evening for me. I'm suiting up. I'm not going to play. I can't play because I'm being redshirted. Well, my whole family's at the game. You know, they're supporting me, supporting the Aggies. And here's what happened in the game. With about 10 seconds left in the game, Tom Wilson, who was the head coach of Texas A&M at the time, we lose our second quarterback in the game. And Tom Wilson says, he screams my name, Kubiak, get in there. I say, Coach, I can't go in there. If I go in there, I lose a whole year of eligibility. I can't do that. Well, what do you think the coach said? Get your butt in there, okay? I've been that coach, so I know what that's like now, okay? All right. So I go in the game, and there's 10 seconds left in the game, and we're losing. And I throw one pass to the Aggies and one pass to the Cougars, and the game's over, okay? All right. So that's how my sophomore year ended, playing 2 plays against the University of Houston. I was devastated. Got on the bus, went home after the game, drove all the way back to A&M. I never even went to my room. I got back in my car, came right back to Averill and I-45, where I grew up. Rang the doorbell, probably 4 in the morning. Mom and Dad come up. What are you doing here? I said, I quit. I'm done. Well, you know, my parents, in all honesty, probably hurt for me too. Well, I know they did, okay? So my dad, his first reaction was, go get some rest. We'll talk about this in the morning. Well, I was devastated what I had been through, 2 years at A&M. I'd given everything I had to being a good football player, and nothing was working out. So I didn't know what was going on. Well, anyway, I went and laid down. My mom walked in my room about an hour later. She says, there's a guy on the phone who wants to talk to you. I said, I don't want to talk to nobody. You need to talk to this guy. This guy's name was Greg Davis. He was a coach of mine. And to be honest with you, it's a reason that I went into coaching, because of this guy. I went in the kitchen where we had the old phones with the long cord. I got on the phone and I began to vent. This is bullcorn, you know. He stops me, he says, Gary, he goes, hang on, listen to me for a second. He says, what happened to you last night? It was totally wrong. So we made a mistake. He said, you have every reason in the world to be mad, frustrated, walk away. He said, you have every reason to do that, you know. He said, nobody's going to question that. He said, but let me tell you how this works. He said, 10 years from now, nobody's going to care that you got a bad deal in what year was that, 1981, okay? Nobody's going to want to hear that. People are going to want, what are you doing right now? What are you doing with yourself? That's part of life, okay? So you can sit there and feel sorry for yourself. You have a great built-in excuse. You can tell everybody your story throughout the rest of your life, or you can get back in that car and come here and make something of yourself. So I got off the phone. My dad said, I overheard that conversation, and I know it hurt, but he's right. So I got in my car, I went back, okay? But let me tell you what changed in my life, the reason I tell you this story. So for 2 years, all I cared about was being a good football player and making it in football. That's all I cared about. So everything I did as a person was geared toward that. And everything that I had grown up knowing as being important so that I could be the best person I could be, I had let that go. So when I went back, the first thing I did was I said, you know, I'm probably not going to make it in football. I'm probably not going to be a pro football player. Hey, this doesn't look good. So I better get my butt back in my books and be the student that I've been before. I better get myself back in my church and be the person that my mom and dad raised me to be, and get on the same wavelength with my mom, my dad, and my sisters that I had been for so many years. So I got my life back in order, and lo and behold, football took off again. The next 2 years went really good for me, and I guess the way to say it, the rest is history. But I found out at a very early age in life that if your priorities are not in line, if mine were not in line, I had no chance to be successful. And my life has been that way. I've been part of, I've been to 7 Super Bowls, okay? That's incredible. I've been part of all these great things in the NFL, okay? All these amazing things that I've got a chance to coach all these great coaches, all right? But I can tell you this, if I didn't have my life in order, my priorities in order, with my wife, with my family, with my faith, I had no chance, 0 chance. So my message to all of y'all today is I think we all have a why in life, I think all of us have to kind of figure out what that why is and what makes us tick. And it's been interesting for me, of all the opportunities that I've had to be here or be there or still be a part of the NFL and part of all that stuff, I choose to be in Plantersville because that's what makes me feel good. I choose to come to Tomball because I want to talk to people like yourself and share my story with people like yourself, okay? Because that's who I am. And I think it's important in life that we all figure out who we are, and whether the challenges you have in life are in business, the challenges you have in life are in your relationships, okay, spiritually, personally, whatever they are, give yourself a chance to be the best person you can possibly be. That's the most important thing. So I share that with y'all today. That's 2 things. Now I could sit here and talk forever, but that's 2 things that really changed my career. One taught me about myself. One taught me to trust the path that the good Lord has for you. So thanks for letting me share that with y'all. I'm sorry I get a little emotional talking about those things sometime, but they're real, so that's why it happens. But thanks for having me. If you guys have any questions for me, I'd be glad to answer them now. So how about we open it up for a few minutes? Yes, ma'am.
What you talked about today, when God closed the door, He opened another door.
Absolutely.
And so if we know that and believe that, I've had it in my own life. So what you did is you've shown here, if you stick with what God wants you to do. His plan is perfect. And so I appreciate your testimony. When God does close a door, he opens something better. You proved it.
You know, and that's a great point. And it's really interesting because sometimes I think he's trying to open a door for us as a person, and we don't want to listen, you know. And like I tell you guys that story about me going to Baltimore, I remember when I took the job, and I had to report 2 weeks later, and they put me in this hotel in Owens Mills, Maryland. I mean, this kid's a Houston, Texas boy. I'm at Owens Mills, Maryland. I have no idea where I'm at. I'm living in a hotel. My wife is here. My kids are somewhere else. And I just stare in the mirror and go, what the hell am I doing here? You know? But I had to trust that I was there for a reason. And I, lo and behold, I definitely was. So, you know, sometimes I think, you know, just listening is the most important thing. So thank you for that. Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, sir. I can hear you. Go ahead.
Who's your favorite player to coach?
My favorite player to coach with the Texans. You know, I don't really have one favorite. I enjoy coaching. You know, I'm going to mention Andre Johnson just because last year I went to the Hall of Fame. Andre called me, and Andre doesn't talk much. Y'all know that, right? And he called me, and I picked up the phone, and he didn't even say, hello, what's going on? He said, hey, Koob, would you present me at the Hall of Fame? I about dropped the phone. So I got a chance, but I always admired him, and let me tell you why I admired him. When I came to Houston, the franchise was not in very good shape, and he was an amazing player. I mean, other than Jerry Rice, probably the greatest receiver I ever coached, and he was amazing. And he sat there and stood in Houston through bad times as a great player. When most guys say, I want to go to the next scene. I want to go somewhere where they can win a champion. That kid stood there in Houston for how many years and handled himself with class and turned him into a respectable organization and football team and never went that route. So I have great respect for him. You know, I've coached so many great players. I was going to tell you a story about Peyton Manning, but I know y'all got to go back to work. But I enjoyed coaching him. That was one of the greatest challenges of my life. I coached Peyton when he was 40 years old in his last year, and he was not healthy. You talk about pressure? I'm trying to figure out how we're going to get to the finish line and do this the right way. But no, I've been so fortunate to be a part of so many young men's lives, and the greatest compliment for me is when I see them and they say, hey, Coach, how you doing? You know? So not one, but many, many. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Hi, Gary. My name's Keith Neal, former rugby player. So never played American.
It sounded that way. You sound like you might have played some rugby.
Very nice to meet you. Thank you for being here today. I just had one question. If you could talk a little bit about a personal trait that you have that helped you, you know, to be as successful as you were under, you know, enormous pressure, but you kept coming back. Outside of your faith, what is a personal trait that you lean on?
That's a great question. I really that's hard to answer. I would just say that I think the good Lord he gave me a calmness about me as a person, as a coach, and everything that I did. If I won the biggest game I was ever a part of, that was good. That was okay. I was going back to work the next day. If I failed, well, I'm gonna go try to get better. I never got too high or too low. I tried to, you know, just be a consistent guy in what I did with my players and as a person. You know, I tried never to bring football home with me. My wife was amazing. I mean, she raised our three boys. I was working. I mean, she did an incredible job. And I always promised her, whether we won or lost, when I got in the car after the game, you know, it was about them. It wasn't going to be about the job I did or whether we won or lost the game. So I just think to last, I was in the NFL for 41 years. It's a long time. And, you know, to last that long, I just think giving me a peace of mind to just be even keeled in what I did, you know, so I would say that. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Gary, when I want to know how free you felt to share your faith in the locker room and in a public setting in the NFL.
You know, as a person, I'm not very, y'all probably know that about me, I'm not very talkative and now doing those type of things. But, when I look back on my career in football, whether I was playing or coaching, those special moments, the morning before the game with the Texans when in this room there was chapel, in this room they were having mass, so there were the Catholic, but just to know that when you look in that room and you look in this room, those are guys that I had to go fight with when y'all all showed up at noon on Sunday. It made me feel really good. So I just, I always welcomed, I wanted the players to be themselves. And, there's some powerful men in the business that do it the right way. And but I didn't try to push myself in one way or the other. I tried to be there for all of them. I mean, they're all different. I used to tell my players, I said, listen, I'll treat you all fairly, but it's going to be different. You're all different, okay? But I'll treat you all fairly. So I don't know. Just try to do the best I could, I guess. Yes. Anybody else? Well, listen, hey, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it, okay? And maybe we'll do it again sometime. You have a great day.